master your money moves. That's what we're here for. And then just very quickly, some information, of course, about who we are. This is me, just in case you didn't recognize me. I'm the CEO and founder of Fetola, and I'm absolutely passionate about helping people just like you to get ahead and be successful as entrepreneurs, as people. It's when we're at our best that we can really make a difference in the world. And this is Fetola. We've been going for nearly 20 years. Hang around. Next year is our 20th anniversary. We've got lots of exciting things coming up next year. But most of you on the call already know this. We're really about helping entrepreneurs to build a business that doesn't just feed them today, but makes change for their lives and for generations to come. All right, let's talk about the money stress. So when we look at the data, this 7 out of 10 people in South Africa say they're under financial stress. And in fact, we had a session in our team just a couple of weeks ago, and I was quite shocked to see that this was pretty much the same story, even in our own team of a lot of young people in the team. And so I think this thing of money stress, and definitely as we get towards the end of the year, there's this huge pressure to perform. If you're a parent, I notice this thing at my word, am I going to buy the right gift? Or if you're going home to family, there's an expectation that you're going to provide money for the family. And there's something about the end of the year where stresses just get increased and increased. And I know this from my own experience. But in addition to that, the data shows that 9 out of 10 South Africans say that money affects their home life, which is horrendous. I think it's a fact that very often where there's challenges in a relationship, very often they're around money. So these are really big things. This is not a fake thing we're talking about. And it's not that we're alone in this. It really is quite common. And that's all the more reason why, because it's common, we need to be finding ways to change this. And that's why we're here. But what are the underlying causes? I think the first thing is we need to understand in South Africa that unfortunately we have very poor standards of maths at school. So school maths is something that we're not great at. A very small proportion of people, in fact, take maths or pass maths at a higher grade. And this means that the vast population of South Africa is uncomfortable about maths. They've had a very traumatic experience at school. They don't feel good about sums. They don't feel good about numbers. And of course, money's all about numbers. It adds up, right? And so I think this is one of the underlying causes of this whole kind of money trauma. The second thing is this emotional blockages. And I'll speak about this with Fangile now. But I know from my own experience, we have all of these background stories, maybe things that our parents talked about when we were young, or even our grandparents talked about, money's the root of all evil. Or it's only bad people, only gangsters are wealthy, all of these crazy emotional components around money. But the reality is that money is a very emotional thing. And so this is the second component, is that we need to recognize that money, even though it adds up, that's number one, we need to know how to add it up. But the second thing is that it's more than just adding up the numbers. There's this other thing that's around emotions of money. And then what this then adds to, those 1 and 2 adds to this component as entrepreneurs, is that many entrepreneurs, I would say the great majority of entrepreneurs, actually have weak financial management skills. They don't have great understanding of their finances. And the combination of all these three things means that entrepreneurs struggle to build businesses that are financially healthy. They struggle to build businesses that in which they can relax because there's sufficient money coming in. They're managing the money in their businesses. They're managing the money that they take out of the business into their personal lives. And this really is one of the biggest challenges of entrepreneurship today. But the beautiful thing is, and I think most of you on the call will be entrepreneurs, I would guess. And I don't know if we asked that question. We didn't ask that question today, Mehlatsi. But I think that you'll find that at least 9.
No, Kathy, we didn't, but it is entrepreneurs just from the Zoom poll.
Okay,
I mean, the registration poll.
So we know you're entrepreneurs. You can't pretend.
Yeah.
So we have 9 out of 10 of you are entrepreneurs. So the point is that the exciting thing about entrepreneurship is that entrepreneurship is the opportunity to take an idea and turn it into money. You have like the magic. As an entrepreneur, you've chosen to say, I want to be in control of my money. I want to be making it. And that's the whole point, is that as an entrepreneur, you have the opportunity to write your own money story. And that's what's exciting about entrepreneurship. But again, if we haven't learned how to manage that money, if we still have this deep discomfort around it, if we're really struggling on the emotions of it, all of that hard work that we create as entrepreneurs can fall away to nothing. And so the thing is, what we're talking about here is to say, how do we really turn entrepreneurship into financial freedom by tackling some of these issues? So Fetola, of course, we've actually, for the last couple of years, really identified that these three things are absolutely critical. The first thing that we do is whenever we work with an entrepreneur, so if you're lucky enough to come into one of our programs or you're keen to join a program that's coming up, in every program that we work with, we help entrepreneurs with these three things. The first thing is really to understand your money mindset. And so that is the first thing in our Money Magic series is, first of all, emotions of money. So how do you understand the underlying anxieties around money or discomfort or your distrust or whatever, all those emotions around money. The second thing we help you to do is technically how to manage your personal and your business finances. And we do know that that's one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur, is to understand business accounting, is to make sure that your account's in place, that you understand the accounts, that you can use those in order to manage the business. And so the third component, when you come into a program, is to say, then how do we help you to use this better ability to manage your finances in order to build a business that is really growing? And so these are the three things in all of the programs we work on. We really understand that this is absolutely critical. Yes, of course, you need to know marketing, you need to know productivity, you need to know how to handle your people. Yes, of course. But the reality is, in a business, unless you can really be comfortable with this component of money, it's going to be very difficult for you to build a business that really does deliver you the financial freedom that you are looking for. And so the nice thing here is that it is possible to turn your problem into positive action. And again, I want to applaud you for coming onto this webinar, this podcast, because you've put your hand up to say, I want to find the answers. And that's the beginning of it. Well done. Just very quickly, again, when we talk about profitability, so just showing you the types of results that entrepreneurs such as yourselves will achieve if you come onto one of our programs. These are typical results. This, in fact, was from our Circular Economy Accelerator. So the businesses that were on this program grew at 400%. So that means that over the 18 months that they were in the program, their revenue went up 4 times. So if they started on like 100,000 Rand per month revenue when the beginning of the program, by the end of the program, they were doing 400,000 per month. And they were much more profitable. So they were not just increased the sales, but the profitability increase. And this is the type of result that's really exciting for us to see. So there is a new circular economy accelerator launching in February. And so one of the reasons we've shown you this is just to flag anybody in the call that's keen to join a circularity or sustainability accelerator. There's a new one coming up that will launch in February. So if it's not just for you, please, but you know people that would be keen on that, please do share. And then the second one that I want to show is results from our Youth Startup Accelerator. And we also have another round of that starting early next year. And that's a fabulous program. We take 100 entrepreneurs from all over South Africa, young, very early stage ideation and very, very early stage businesses. And they go through a year's accelerator. And then typically, again, in the youth startup, it's like 4 times increase in revenue. So really, really powerful results in both of these accelerators. So please take note. I'm going to show you a little screen now that will give you the sign up for both of these programs. So if you're keen, please do sign up for those, because that's the beginning of absolutely game-changing, life-changing progress for you in your business. So the end result, we spoke about. I've spoken a little bit about the Money Magic series that we help entrepreneurs to go through, helping them to build a really good, resilient kind of financial growth path, helping them with all of the components of managing their money. At the end of it, what a lot of entrepreneurs are looking for is to say, "But I want to access growth finance." And so the outcome of all of that is that 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10 businesses struggle with access to growth finance globally in South Africa. But what we find in our programs is, in fact, 7 out of 10 businesses that have gone through our accelerators are able to access growth finance. So we actually, in Fetola, we flip these results over. So if you really follow us, if you manage to get on a program and you're really diligent about following those three things of understanding the emotions of money, understanding how to manage your personal and business finances, and then using those in order to build a profitable revenue, you will be able to access growth finance. And so, just to notice that if there's anybody on the call that's interested, please go here. So this is the slide I wanted to share. So those of you, if you want to sign up to the ecosystem, if you're not already on the ecosystem, and I kind of suspect most of you probably already are, but if you're not on the ecosystem, please do sign up through this link, the link at the top, because that will get you priority access. You'll be the first to know when the new accelerators open. And as I say, there's lots coming up next year. I'm only going to speak to 2 of them, but there's lots of them coming up. There's the Circular Economy Accelerator for sustainability businesses, which are a bit more, bit early stage, early established. And then there's the 4th round of the Youth Startup Accelerator for ideation and early stage businesses. And then I'm going to introduce you now to, I guess, Fangile. But again, she has got a fantastic book, and she, luckily, working with us, has given you an amazing discount. So you'll get a discount through purchasing through that link down there. And I think without more ado, I want to get onto that. So I hope that's interesting for you guys. Let's get on to Vangile. So here's I'm going to put this slide up just for a little bit for people to read, and then we're going to jump into a conversation. I'm very excited, Vangile, to welcome you. I think that you have an incredibly interesting background, and I'm going to inquire if there's things about you that I particularly want to know, and I'm going to just jump in there. So I'm going to say, first of all, welcome to you. Super excited to greet you here. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Catherine. Thank you for everyone for coming. Oh, this is exciting.
Awesome. Great. So as many people know, I'm born and raised in Zambia. And so I have a fascination to know where people come from. And so, Vangile, before we get into the technical stuff, just tell me a little bit, where are you born? What's your background? Who are you? Who is Vangile Makwakwa?
Okay, so I am born in Mpumalanga, South Africa, in a little town called Elukwatini. Nobody ever really knows where it is. Yeah, that's where I'm from. But I did my high schooling in Johannesburg at St. Mary's. Went to UCT for university, and then did my MBA at the Simmons School of Management in Boston, Massachusetts.
That's fantastic. So St. Mary's must be very proud of you. Do they ask you to come back and like give keynotes and things to the students?
Actually, never. Like, people keep asking me that. I'm like, no, I had a very challenging history with St. Mary's. I think I talk a little bit about that in the book, how I was this runaway child, the child that you have missing posters of, because I was just really struggling emotionally. So yeah, like my history with St. Mary's is still very touch and go, but I'm in touch with all my classmates.
But there's actually, before we get into it, there's something very interesting about that. Entrepreneurs are rule breakers. So I also had a traumatic school life. And I think that there is something when there's a difficult child in a class that doesn't want to, paint the sky blue. It's almost an indicator. So if anybody out there, most of you there, you're all the naughty children in this call already, right? All the rule breakers that are here together. And if we have children that are rule breakers, just remember that they'll probably turn out to be entrepreneurs. So I think we share a good background, Vangila. Yeah, also not so fond of my school, but I'm sure by the time you went to university, things were very different. All right.
Yes.
So let's just get to it. So you spoke a little bit about trauma, and I know that you focus quite a lot about money trauma. What is money trauma, and why is it important to speak about it?
Okay, so money trauma, firstly, let me just explain what trauma is. So, trauma, most people think is the big things in life. When I talk about money trauma, people are thinking job losses, someone stole my money, that kind of stuff. But actually, that's trauma with a T, right? Then there's little trauma, small t. And trauma is basically anything that leaves you feeling disempowered, and it's an event that happens or an event that happens too quickly for you to be able to integrate and just move through. It's also something that leaves you stuck in that particular event. So that means that you just did not have the resources to process it. So I'm sure from this, you guys can already see that, like, trauma can basically be anything. It is extremely subjective. What I consider trauma may not be a trauma to you. Or
Mm-hmm.
you can have two siblings in a household experiencing the same household around finances, but also having completely different relationships with money because they have different capacity, they had a different capacity to process an event, or they saw things differently. So money trauma is an extremely subjective thing, anything that caused any of those events that I spoke about. But most often it is, I would say, if we're talking about money trauma, it is an event that left you feeling powerless. And often it has nothing to do with money. People expect it to be about the money, and it's not. It can be something that also impacts your sense of self, because how earning money is also about how we perceive ourselves and our self-perception, right? So if an event impacted your self-perception, it probably also impacted your relationship with money and falls under money trauma in the work that I do.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, so some people on the call might be wondering how would you know? So when we talk about the emotions around money affecting us, how would you know? What sort of indicators might there be that somebody is sitting with money trauma or sitting with some emotional issues around money? What kind of indicators would show that up?
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is we all have money trauma, right? As long as you are breathing, you have some kind of money trauma. The
I
reason
always say,
why,
sorry, I would say even Elon Musk has money trauma. In
yeah,
his case, he just simply doesn't have enough, right? It's never enough. It's never enough. So, I mean, I
yes.
think that's important too. It's not just when we can't make the bills at the end of the month. Everybody, I think it's a very good statement. That, yeah.
Yes. So honestly, people always think that I work with people that don't make enough money. You'll be shocked that the majority of my clients are actually people that are born with trust funds and are very high earners. So they've probably never experienced lack, but they know they carry money trauma because there's a lot of emotions of guilt, shame, feeling like, oh my God, I did not work for this. So the way that they then interact with money and manage money doesn't quite feel powerful. It feels like they are completely disempowered. So one of the key emotions to go with when you are looking if you have money trauma is to look at all the various emotions, but most times is, do you feel empowered whenever you talk about money, manage money, have money conversations? Because trauma is something that leaves you feeling completely disempowered. So, if you are feeling anxious, ashamed, feeling guilty, feeling resentful, feeling envious, those are all feelings of money. Those are all associated with being disempowered, as opposed to if you feel calm and regulated whenever you're dealing with money, then you feel more empowered. But can I also
Yeah.
add something quickly,
Okay.
Catherine? The other thing is also understand that there's something called a money set point. So you may feel empowered with money at a particular money set point, which means that when you're earning or saving a specific amount of money, you get used to that amount and your nervous system is dysregulated with that. And then suddenly you start earning more and it feels like you're losing control when it comes to money. And that's something that just earning more money can also trigger your money trauma and disempower and lead to this feeling of being disempowered or feeling out of control. That's also a huge sign. Whenever you have money and you feel out of control, that is a sign that you are now triggered by something financially and you are now working with money trauma.
So, I mean, you said when people feel calm around money, what would make one calm around money? Because I think that that's a very rare state. And I think if you're thinking about the people in the call here, they're going, "Oh my God, calm around money. Are you dreaming?" So what is it? So maybe what are the kind of key things? And maybe we're jumping to the end here, but what are the key things that you do in order to become calm around money? Because I'm not sure that it's entirely about trauma. I think that I don't know, maybe it doesn't have to be a big trauma, right? It could just be,
No.
oh my God, okay, I know I've overspent. I know, I mean, I don't even want to look at my credit cards because I know they're maxed out. So how, maybe give us a couple of key indicators. What would you do? What are the key actions that you need to do in order to become calm around your money?
Okay, so this is a great question because this is literally the work that I teach. Um, I don't teach people to feel grateful and excited and happy about money because every time money leaves, then what happens? You always, it's not about the money in your bank account. That's the first thing you need to understand. So what you do is you retrain the amygdala, which is the emotional center of the brain. One thing to understand about us as humans is that we haven't evolved in terms of processing emotions for the last 10,000 years. So we've evolved in terms of intellect, the things that we're doing, amazing things, right? Technology-wise. But the way that we react to situations right now is the same way that my ancestors or our ancestors reacted 10,000 years ago. This is why I always say, this is why humans still go to war over small things, because we haven't learned how to work with our emotions. So the first thing is to work with the emotional center of the brain, which is the amygdala. What I did when I was having panic attacks around money and was heavily in debt, to get out of debt and to just start being able to buy bread and milk, I would look at my bank account for 5 minutes a day. So 5 minutes a day, you're looking at your bank account, and then you observe, you close your banking app, you observe your breath for 5 minutes. Why you are doing this is that if your brain associates money with some kind of traumatic event, remember, not a big event, small t, it could just be people teasing you, anything, right? So if your brain associates money with any of that event or with any event like that, every time you manage money, there is some kind of nervous system response, or there's some kind of emotional trigger that is going on in the brain. So whenever you're looking at your bank account, remember that your mind cannot tell the difference between reality and fiction and imagination. So you're looking at your bank account, you're basically putting your entire nervous system and your brain into the state of actually dealing with money. So you will automatically get triggered. This is a good thing. You want to be triggered outside of an actual money event, like having conversations with a client around money, all of that. So when you start observing your breath, you are allowing the amygdala and that emotional center of the brain to come back to center and observe, wait, I am safe. Nothing is happening to me right now. I don't have to keep reacting this way, right? So you bring your attention back to your breath. So, and then after that 5 minutes, you start observing the sensations in your body for 5 minutes. We've worked with the subconscious mind and the emotional center, right? Now we're working with the nervous system, the body. The nervous system and the subconscious mind work hand in hand. So when the subconscious mind is going through when actually the first thing that you feel is what's happening at a nervous system level, and then your subconscious mind creates stories about what's happening and then interprets the emotions. So you want to come into the body and allow your body to also feel that sense of safety, and that's called interoception. So all it is you're observing the sensations in your body, bringing safety back. Do this honestly for 30 days, it will start to change things. And if you want to go deeper, after those 15 minutes, write down the thoughts that you had as you were feeling these emotions and as you were feeling the emotions in your body and as your breath was doing whatever it was doing. Important, don't control the breath. I forgot to say that. And then as you write down the thoughts, you start to question them. You do not do positive affirmations on that. It will cause more issues for you at a nervous system level. So it's basically like you're gaslighting yourself if you try to move into the positive thinking realm. So you want to start questioning the thoughts. In anyway, one of my favorite techniques to use is called The Work of Byron Katie. Her stuff is free. You can go to thework.com. And she teaches you a questioning process. But one of the two questions that I usually ask my clients to ask is, who would I be without this thought? And what becomes possible for me without this thought, right? So just sit with that for days on end, write this down. Last thing I will say is that I did this when I was $60,000 in debt. My debt was denominated in dollars and pounds. I paid it back in rands in 3.5 years, right? And I did not do extra things. The only difference was that I took a full 8 months of my life to do exactly what I'm teaching you guys. I mean, I added more things to it, but I did this. This was my work for 8 hours a day for 8 months, and it changed everything. After that, I could pay back $60,000 in debt, came back to South Africa and just worked a regular job and was able to figure things out financially.
Thanks, Wangile. I mean, what comes to mind when you're speaking is the separation of yourself from your money. You are not
Yes.
your money. I mean, I think a lot of the time money becomes about ego. So we think if we don't have money, we're going to be judged. You know, if we don't have money, there's something wrong with me. And so the examples that you've given are great opportunities to say, okay, I feel anxious about the money, but actually I am still me. I'm still safe. And I think
Yes.
that's really interesting. I want you, please, could you share the story about your uncle that always was, kind of wanting to get rid of his money? I think that's a really insightful, because that speaks, we tend to think about money as being a shortage of money. Oh my God, I'm traumatized because I have a shortage of money. And so you have a really nice personal example of the opposite, of somebody who felt traumatized for having too much money. And so it was just, maybe tell us that story. I think it illustrates the opposite very nicely.
Yeah, and like I think this is why I deal with so many people who have money and are struggling to hold on to it, right? So I grew up in a household with my uncle. So my mom had a lot of money and lost it. Long, long story. But anyway, in the end, my uncle comes back from exile, and my mother, right before she loses all her money, she has this insight that we should go live with my uncle, right? And my uncle, it's the 90s, and he's making about 80,000 Rand a month as an electrical engineer. So come from this family of people that have like really unique skill sets and ways of seeing the world. So they're able to monetize their skills. My uncle was making lots of money. So the first 7 days that my uncle would earn money, it would be what I call a Gatsby thing in our household. We'd have politicians, we'd have celebrities, we'd have so many people up in my house. there would be so many braais nonstop. We would be partying. It was just a blast. My sister and I could get anything in that time. Come the 7th of the month, there would be literally no money. I mean, imagine in the 90s, 80,000 Rand right now is a lot of money a month, right? But imagine what it was like in the 90s. And my uncle had a pool. We even had a park growing up, like our own little park and those zip line things. It was a wild experience as a child. And yet, the 7th of the month, my uncle would be broke and the bond wouldn't be paid, electricity wouldn't have been paid, a lot of things wouldn't be paid. And my grandmother, who was a pensioner, would have to step in to pay for electricity, to help with food, to help with groceries. So, as a child, what my nervous system learned was that money was something, whenever you have money, you feel anxious and you have to get rid of it. But I didn't know this until I started doing this work. Everyone would look at my uncle and say things like, "Oh my gosh, he gets so excited when he makes money. We need to figure out how to tone down the excitement." And here's the thing, most of us don't understand our emotions. Even I didn't understand it. You know, my like excitement and anxiety have the same physiological response. What my uncle was feeling anxious, and every time money came into his account, he felt unsafe. So, as a child, your nervous system learns how to feel about money by mimicking the nervous systems of your caregivers. My uncle was my primary caregiver, right, outside of my parents. And my nervous system learned that whenever money comes in, I need to feel anxious about money. I need to feel scared about money. So that's what I learned. And this is what we talk about when we talk about intergenerational trauma about money. So when I got an MBA and started interviewing for jobs with investment banks in Boston and in New York, guess how my nervous system reacted when I was talking about big money? Anxious and eventually panic attacks, because that is all I knew about money. So why I think Catherine also wants me to share the story is because most of us don't realize that if we don't figure this out, it becomes intergenerational. My uncle didn't said a lot of things about money, true, but the things that were most important was how he was feeling about money and what I was learning in that moment about how to feel about money. And I literally replicated that. There was a time where, in a weird twist of fate, I was earning something like $8,000 a month, working 40 hours a month. Literally, I was working for the Saudi royal family, so I was earning big money, right? And I was still $60,000 in debt. I got rid of money in the same way that my uncle got rid of money. It was crazy. And I was also panicking. The only difference is my uncle never had panic attacks, so he could continue to live. I didn't have that luxury. I had to sort myself out because I was making all this money, but always in debt.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I think so. That's on the one extreme. So the one extreme of having too much money. I think we see in South Africa so many people that are struggling to survive. So there is this kind of survivalist mentality. The opposite of that. I'm not. I can't. I'm not able to. There's not enough. What advice would you have for somebody struggling to get out of that mode?
Okay, so the first thing is you cannot budget yourself out of not making enough money. And this is a thing that really, really, it's a hill I'm willing to die on. Because I think that we live in a world where people are telling other people that, like, if you just learned how to budget with this little bit, meanwhile, rental prices are going up, all of that is going up, it's not going to work. So the first thing is to figure out how to make more money, right? That is the very, very first thing. If you can figure out how to make more money, then you can start to work with figuring out how to spend less. So I'm going to give an example now and share how, like, I've helped one of my mentees. So I also do retreats in South Africa. So a few years ago, I converted my mom's house into a guest house, into a retreat center. Now my mom is like, no, she doesn't want people at her house. You guys know how Black moms are sometimes. So we converted it into a retreat center. And people could go have retreats, and sometimes people hire the house out for weddings, etc. Is a really, really cool thing as a side hustle. But then my mom had this client who needed a job, and she came to me and she wanted me to hire her as a helper at the house. And she has a daughter and she wanted just minimum wage. And I said to her, I can't see how your daughter gets out of this without more, you know? So we had a conversation. I asked her, are you willing to learn entrepreneurship? She was like, yeah. And she only had matric at the time. I taught her how to make my secret chili recipe. And long and short of it, her business has grown to the point where she now makes about 40,000 a month just from selling chili. And she partnered up with restaurants in the village. It was a whole thing. But from that, she could start to budget, and she has been able, and I taught her how to budget in a way that is not what a lot of the financial institutions will teach you. So what I tell people is to spend in accordance with their values. So identify your five. So the first thing is sort out your income, right? And then identify your five core values. What are the things that matter most to you, that you value? Everything else, if it's not a core value, falls off, and there's no judgment. Your core value can be fashion, your core value can be travel, your core value can be good food. It doesn't matter. So this already goes against the grain of spending according to what is a need, right? So if your core value is fashion, put it on there. Now you're going to spend, or you're going to look at your bank account every 2 weeks or every week, every month, every day to start off with. I have my clients do this every day to start off. And you're going to start looking if your spending is in alignment with your core values. Remember, there is absolutely no judgment here. So if you went and you bought a Gucci bag and your core value is fashion, well, good for you. But if fashion is not on your core value and you got a Gucci bag, then you need to be honest with yourself. Is fashion a core value, or am I just spending money on things that don't matter to me? In which case you start to align more with the life that you have in mind for yourself. And the reason why we use core values instead of willpower is that willpower is a limited resource, right? So willpower, this is why diet culture doesn't work. If you've ever tried being on a diet, you know that you can do lettuce and cucumber for like 3 weeks, but the day that someone puts a chocolate cake on in front of you, you're going to just eat that up. That has absolutely nothing to do with you not being self-disciplined. It has everything to do with the fact that your mind actually gets tired every time it has to make decisions. So every time you're making a decision of, I should spend less, I shouldn't spend on this, I shouldn't spend on that, or I shouldn't eat this, I shouldn't eat that, your mind is just getting depleted. Whereas if you're just doing something that aligns more with your lifestyle, you're more likely to stay on track. So this is one of the key things. And what I have found every time is that people will be able to make very, very different decisions when you give them permission to spend in accordance with their values. Because if you only have 5 things to choose from, family, like food, health, all of those things. This is how I have seen people change from buying takeaways to buying more healthier food, because health is a core value and takeaways no longer aligns with that. So, and that's when you start to change something at a very fundamental level. You no
That's
longer.
incredibly That's incredibly powerful. I really like that. I think that the five core values is a good thing because only five. You have to decide on the five, and you can't change the five from week to week, right? And that's it. You've made up your five. So I think that's a beautiful way to end this piece. I think that you just confirmed that that's the kind of content that you've got in your book. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so I think what I want to do is that I want to leave some time here for questions. So this is really powerful. So I'd like to maybe just as I wrap up with you, people get your questions ready, and then let's give some time for some personal back and forth with Fongile, or myself, of course. But anyway, let's see what's going on. And I think, yeah, I think that's really powerful. I think for me, the things that I would say for myself is that you have to look at the problem. So I like the way you said, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, to look at the problem, you have to look at the problem. I always say the thing with challenges is that they get bigger. Get bigger when you turn away from them. They will never just resolve themselves. So I think that strategy to look at the problem, is really, really important. I think the other thing that you've really focused on is that mindset is everything. How you feel about it is really is fundamental, because you need, first of all, to improve the way that, so first of all, look at the problem. Secondly, understand what are the feelings that are coming up, how are the feelings coming up, and then the third thing is to have a real strategy in order to manage it. And I really like your five core values. I think that's hugely powerful, and those are really game changers. So yeah, so thank you for that. Let's see if we got any questions coming up. Anybody brave enough? And remember, you are the brave. You are the brave. Just by being here, you're the brave. So, and there's no judgment in this. So those of you that like Gucci bags, there's no judgment in that. I'm just trying to work out what my core values are. Probably travel. I'm here, travel and family. I'm here in London visiting my family. So, yeah, who's brave enough to ask a question?
Oh, can I also add that your core values change with the stage that you're at in life? Travel was a core value for me, and it will probably be. But as soon as I got married, a relationship and marriage became a core value.
Yes. And there's something, and again, people are just struggling to be brave. So I'm going to speak a little bit. There's somebody in my team, a young woman in my team, who has very clearly set purchase of a house as one of her core values. And she's been with us now for about 7 years, and she's actually just purchased her first house. And the point was that because all along it was really something powerful, she's always prioritized that. And so in the end of the day, it's become a reality for her. Okay, cool. So we have Zamakukle. Go for it. You're well done for being the first to put your hand up. Go for it. Go for it with your question.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Great.
Um,
Thank you.
I'm Zamogoshe. I have a question for Vanille, and it's a horrible event that took place this year, Ellie. I got a payout which was about 100K, and I blew out in a week. By a week, that money was gone. And I think even next time when I get a huge amount of money, I feel like I'm gonna still blow it up. And I can't even trace back on what I did. So I don't know if you can assist with that or to deal with that trauma or what triggers that emotion. If I get money, I just blew it. Same time it arrives in the bank account.
Okay, I will explain what happened. Right. So was that, just quick question, Zamagutle, was that the most amount of money you've ever been paid in your bank account?
Yes.
Okay, so that is a clear thing of indicator of a money set point, right? So what happened is your nervous system just got extremely overwhelmed. And when your nervous system gets overwhelmed, your sub-personalities, so the versions of you that learned that money wasn't safe, be it as a little child or as a teenager, those versions of you took over. And this is why you also cannot trace what happened with the money. It's almost like when people say, I can't remember anything, I drew a blank, that's because the you now wasn't fully in control. So our sub-personalities basically do what psychologists and therapists would call hijack us, right? So your sub-personality hijacked you to basically try to keep you safe and to protect you from all that money. And yeah, those parts of you that have never had that much money feel overwhelmed with it and feel scared with it. And so they try to protect you. So one of the first ways that I would recommend is still, I have a course that Catherine and Mahlatsi are going to share with you guys, and it's called the Bank Account Challenge. So starting off with the Bank Account Challenge will help tremendously. So be on the lookout for that course, because we'll be able to go deeper on that, and also just we'll be able to work on observing what happens in your body whenever you have money, all of that. And this amazing meditation that I have in there that will basically, again, move some things and trigger some things in your nervous system so that you can see what happens when you have more money than you imagined and dreamt of at a nervous system level, and to learn how to regulate your nervous system.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Vanilla.
Thanks, Vanilla. That's fantastic. Thank you. Let's go to Katlego.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for such a powerful session. I'm Katlego. My question is, I'm an entrepreneur. So before the trauma is that I was with the father of my kids, and then the separation happened. Now I had to take over everything, like the school fees, the bills, and all that. So ever since then, it has affected me also in business in a way that when I have to actually price, then my pricing is now based on need, like I had to, like, even if maybe I put it on a price that I know this is what the value that I'm giving, and a client says no, maybe next time when I have budget, then I'll take it low. So it has been affecting me so much. I just want to find out what are the ways, or what is it that I can do? Is there any course or something that I can do that can help me pick up my confidence, and so that I can do well in my business? Thank you.
Katlego, did you struggle a lot with rejection as a child?
A lot.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's happening is whenever you are being, how do I put this? I'm trying to find a gentle way to put it. But you're basically conflating rejection of your products and services with rejection of yourself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So people are not rejecting you, they're rejecting your products and services. But again, whenever you face that rejection, the part of you that faced rejection is being triggered and then comes to the surface to basically hijack you. And so it feels like you yourself is being rejected. So the core work that you need to be working on is the fear of rejection, right? And also the fear, at a deeper underlying level, is what I call the not good enough wound. When we face rejection from a young age, what often happens is that we carry this belief that something is wrong with us, that so we carry this wound that we are not good enough. So every time the rejection happens, the fear of rejection, but underneath, there's an even deeper layer, which is the not good enough wound. I don't do this work in the Bank Account Challenge. I do it in my other work, which is the Money Magic course. And we can talk about that if you're interested in going deeper on that. But that requires more around childhood, deeper looking into childhood wounds, and really, really exploring a lot of those wounds. I hope that makes sense.
Thanks, Vanilla. And Katlego, from my side, so rejection is really tricky. That's one of the things, if anybody has been in a sales position, which is kind of what you're speaking about, one of the tricks that we do in sales is say, always have a lineup of 10 possible clients. So that rejection, there's always somebody else, because part of being successful in business is, unfortunately, the possibility of rejection, the possibility of failure. And so sometimes just from a simple method process, it's about saying, how do you have more opportunities? Not just chasing the one opportunity, but you've always got more opportunities in the bank. And so that's another way to get around it. But that's really good advice. And I think, I think the fear of rejection runs very deep, and it is this ability to charge the right price, a fair price, is something that's very important as an entrepreneur. So there's also a technical side to that. So the technical side is making sure that you know your costing. So whether you've had a proper costing training so that you know what is the actual cost of your product, below which you're simply not going to be making money. There's no point in making the deal. And so some of it is about just understanding the technical parts of costing. So I know, for example, it costs me 100 Rand to make the product, so I can't possibly sell it for less than that, otherwise I'm losing money. And when we know that technical component, gives us a bit more strength in order to be able to charge the right price. So it's a little bit always both. It's always both the technical component and an emotional component. But yeah, good luck with that. That sounds great. And I think Vangile, your advice is absolutely on point. Yeah. Let's go to Mamela. Also nice, some nice questions in the thread. Thank you, everybody. But let's go to Mamela.
Hi, Catherine. Hi, Vangile. My question is, I have a small business, and I have been running it for quite a while. But when it comes to finances, I finally got to the point where I thought I understood like finances in my business, sort of trying to budget, trying to forecast, trying to sort of separate personal and business expenses, but I always feel like I'm doing something wrong. And I feel like as much as we make profit, like we don't see it in our business. And I'm so scared that it's just not that it's not working out because we're doing well. We have customers, we have a good relationship with customers, we retain customers. They keep coming back, and we finally have sort of money in the bank. But I'm constantly so scared that I'm doing something wrong. And I don't know whether maybe like it's not for me to continue in business or what it is, but whether it's my personal or my business finances, I just feel like I'm constantly failing somewhere.
Okay. Quick question, because there's two parts to this. Do you feel like you're doing something wrong and it reflects in your bank account in that there is no money in the bank account, or you feel like you're doing something wrong, but there is money that is in the bank account?
I feel like, well, now there is money in the bank account, so I feel like I'm doing something right. I just don't know what I'm doing right. And then because I buy stock and I track it, I track our stock, all those things. But when there's no money, I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong that I didn't do that I did right last week? So it's a bit draining. And when it comes to thinking about my finances, I just feel like I just want to give it to somebody else. Like maybe I'm not good at it or I'm not worthy of handling them. So I don't know.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing you say is that there seems to be a belief that I am not good with money, or I'm gonna do something wrong with money. Am I right with that, Mamela? Hello? Is Mamela here? I think we lost her.
She's on mute.
I'm
Oh,
here.
yes, I was asking, it seems like there's something around I'm not good with money.
I think I'm not good. I feel I'm not good with money, even
Okay.
though I track it and I try my best, but I feel deep down that I'm just not good with it.
Okay. So this is actually I'm going to give you an exercise to do, right? This comes from somewhere. So it could be something that you're carrying from previous generations, we don't know, or it's something from childhood, right? So one of the best ways to change a belief is to actually be cognizant of what is happening in the present moment and to work with the truth. So you're going to just write down, I am not good with money. And then you're going to question yourself, can I know that this is true? Right? And then you're going to ask yourself, how do I behave with money whenever I have this thought? And you're going to ask yourself, and then the next question you're going to ask yourself, and you can do this every day on the same question. I promise you, until it feels like your body starts to believe the opposite. And then you're going to ask, who would I be without this belief that I am not good with money? And then you're going to give yourself 3 examples every day that you are good with money, to disprove this belief. So you're going to write down 3 things that you've done. At the end of the day, you're going to write down 3 things that you have done that prove that you are actually good with money. Like it could be something as simple as I paid in cash for this supplier. I negotiated this deal. I showed up to this class and I spoke about my issues, right? So you're going to do this until, I would say, do it even for 6 months. I did this for myself for 6 months, just 3 things. It's going to take 5 minutes a day. One thing to note is as the belief starts to change, your mind is going to fight you. You'll feel too lazy after 3 weeks to want to do this. You won't want to keep it up, all of that, because the thought needs to actually stay alive also, right? Because it shapes your identity in some way. And then also the belief that I'm doing something wrong. Same question, same process. And you're going to write down what you are doing right, not necessarily with money, just living, What am I doing right with business and life? 3 things. So you're going to end up writing 3 things that show every day that you are good with money and 3 things that you are doing something right. What we're doing is we're now giving the mind evidence that this is a lie. And the only thing that the mind will work with is what you keep showing it. But if you keep showing it and you keep focusing on, I am doing this right, because the mind's only job is to be right. So it's going to feed you all the reasons why you are doing something wrong, why you are bad with money, all of that. So now you have to forcefully give it 3 reasons why this is not true.
Okay. Awesome. I'll start that.
Well done,
It's
and
a
well done for the
pleasure.
courage to all of you. That I think we've run out of time for questions. Maybe we're going to go very quickly with Namonde, and then that's it. And again, really well done, all of you that has the courage to speak up, because there is something really powerful about asking in a public space. So well done for that. Let's just go quickly with Namonde, and then that's going to be our last question.
Hello, Catherine and Bangile. So I don't know if you can hear me. Can
Yes.
you hear me? So I'm having a problem with being fearful of debts. I have a business loan. So I wasn't able to pay it, but somehow I managed to, probably, yes, I was able to negotiate with the funder that I will be able to pay a certain amount. Yes, I can pay it per month, but I've been having so much fear of paying like having a credit, because I've seen somehow my father having so much credit and then not being able to pay it, to a point where I even saw a warrant of arrest. A warrant of arrest for him. So I have so much fear for credit, but now that I need it, I cannot even get it. So I wanted to know, how do I work with that?
Okay. Can I go in a little bit into the woo-woo stuff? Okay, as children, what often happens is we look at our caregivers and we think, wow, I love mom, I love dad, I love uncle, I love auntie so much. I just want to be like them. And we create an unconscious vow to be exactly like them. Remember, children are not judgmental. Your little child, even your teen self, in their greatest like rebellion, looks and thinks, I just love mom and dad. So you observed your dad. This is so common. We will often repeat our parents' mistakes with money or great breakthroughs with money without even understanding why. So what often happens is we decide that, okay, we're going to be loyal to mom or dad. And we start behaving exactly like our parents. So you observing your dad and him not being able to pay back the debt and then finding yourself in that similar situation is not a mistake. It's just that there's a part of you that is still loyal to your dad. So this is not what they would usually teach most personal finance people would teach. But one of the things that I would say is, what is your relationship with your father like?
He would always buy, like, he died in 2013. So
Yeah.
he would buy like us like sweet stuff, taking us to the shop and then tell us what do things that we can take and stuff. Yes.
Yeah, so if you relate, so what you have to do is work through those loyalties to your father. Any kind of latent anger, any kind of like, oh my gosh, my dad was the best thing. You literally have to allow your inner child to see your dad as just a human being. I know this is one of the hardest things that I do with people is basically allow your parents to be who they are so that you can start to basically regulate your nervous system outside of the decisions that they made around money. So that's going to be your key work, is to basically go into those memories and just observe what your nervous system was feeling. Just observe your breath, observe the nervous system, and basically almost release your dad so that the part of you now, the adult you, can make different decisions around money. Because my suspicion from what you've shared, even the way you've shared the story, is that you instantly talked about your father. So the work that needs to be done, more than even the money work, is releasing your dad to just be his own person and you to be your own person. So basically separating the nervous systems.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Namonde, for the courage to put that question forward. And thank you, Fangile. This has been such a powerful session. And I am aligned with you on the woo-woo stuff. I think that that's what makes us so powerful. And that's what makes this work so powerful. Because this is all about understanding the subconscious, the hidden things behind us that make us behave in a certain way. And I think that you've touched on something that is so incredibly powerful. And I really look forward to working with you more in the future. And good luck to everybody. Well done again for the courage to attend this, because I think they're like the 3 A's that you need. First of all, it's about the awareness. So being aware of what's going on, this awareness about why do you feel, why you feeling anxious, or why you're behaving about in certain ways. The second A is about deliberately taking action. So as Mangile said, simple thing. Maybe it's just about the courage to look at your accounts on a regular basis. And then maybe the third A is to say that this is the time to reach out for assistance. So get advice, get assistance, because I think this is when we do reach out for help, we can overcome these things very quickly. And so thank you so much. Thanks, Fangile. It's been wonderful to have you. And thank you so much for being so generous and sharing the discount to everybody. Please jump on and get the book. It is amazing. It is life-changing. And yeah, really well done. Well done for that. And let's keep on with the work of helping people to unlock their trauma. And let's help everyone in South Africa to reach a new level of understanding about how to create wealth.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you so much, Mahlatsi. Guys, I've given Mahlatsi a link. I'm sure she and Catherine will share the link to a free breathwork meditation for you guys, where you can download a breathwork meditation if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious around money, overwhelmed, anxious, and frustrated. That's what the breathwork meditation will help with. And then they will also share the bank account challenge links and everything. But thank you, Catherine. This was so amazing. Thank you, Matlati, for organizing this, and thank you everyone for joining. This was amazing. I enjoyed
Great.
it.
Thank you, guys. And those of you that are not on the ecosystem, this is exactly the kind of work that we help entrepreneurs like you to get through. This is powerful. It's amazing. Thank you again. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day.